Hello, my name's Alex. I'm one of the owners here at Dunster House, and I really like rabbits. I have 10. In some form, shape or kind they're rescues, and they're a pet I've wanted for a long time. Because I like to build, because I like DIY, I've spent a lot of time building up a variety of different shapes and structures for them at home, and making them an accommodation that seems to suit them, as opposed to what you can just go into a shop, buy off the shelf, take home and confine your rabbit to for the rest of its days, really. I don't know about you, but a lot of things that I could find in the shops I was totally unhappy with, and when I started to research what independent rabbit welfare places like to sort of recommend for rabbits, they seem to be wholly inadequate. So my hutches at home, my runs at home are all homemade, hand-built. They took a long time, and they make my rabbits happy and healthy. Certainly they seem okay, and the vets are always pleased with me.
Rabbitopia is an absolute reinvention of the rabbit hutch and run system. Made of pressure-treated timber, it allows you to spend time with your rabbits rather than having to treat it, using large section timbers for strength and heavy-duty galvanised mesh to prevent predators getting in or rabbits escaping.
The most unique thing about Rabbitopia is the sky burrow, which is this tower system we have here. It's a system of shelves because rabbits don't like ramps because they slide, so they like to be able to jump from layer to layer to layer. It's designed so that if a rabbit should push another rabbit off, that they won't fall all the way down to the ground because all of the shelves slightly overlap each other. It means that the rabbits can also get up to a height to interact with you. So if I remove this panel, I can stroke the rabbit whilst they're on a, as far as they're concerned, terra firma. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not kneeling in whatever little presents they're left behind for me. The sky burrow is totally unique. Rabbits do love to climb. They do love to be high up. With 3 sides of it walled in, it gives them decent weather protection and it makes them feel safe. A classic phrase I once heard is a rabbit will feel more safe behind a piece of paper than it will behind a thick mesh because it's solid. This isn't paper, this is 12mm thick timber. But it's there to protect them from the weather, it's there to protect them from the rain and the wind and the snow, and to give them somewhere cosy and safe and a little bit darker to go into. In fact, I'm having to entice my rabbits out with nuggets because of the fact that they actually just quite like being in there. The tower also consists of an insulated hutch system. And it's actually insulated with, I'll put the nuggets in there. It's actually insulated with polyurethane. And polyurethane is the same stuff as NASA used in the space shuttle. And it's a very, very good insulator. We actually use it in our garden offices designed for people. And by having the entrance from underneath to the hutch as opposed to on the front that a traditional hutch would have, it actually means that any heat generated by the rabbits or any heating device you put in there, like a heat mat, is then at least retained to some degree within the hutch enclosure. And if I get Mr. Poppet Rabbit, you can see there's plenty of space. Actually, as a hutch, it's not that far off the size of many runs that you'll see on the market. And I'll get him a friend. Well, that's Paddy. Little Paddy Rabbit, this little brown one, was going to get put down for no other reason than the people didn't want him, and one of my salespeople actually brought him to me. Poppet Rabbit, this little white one, still a bit skittish, and you can see the discoloration on his flanks, was a stray that my local vet phoned me about to say they couldn't find a home for him. When he came to me, he was crusty with living in mess, and I've spent about 3 or 4 months cleaning him, washing him, and he's not quite so much a yellow rabbit anymore. He's also growing fur back on his ears where sunburn had taken the fur off. But that's by the by. All the shelves are a height that the rabbits can jump up and down from easily. This panel here removes for ease of cleaning. So you can get in to clean off the shelves, you can get in to clean all the shelves off as you need to. Obviously it's there to stop any suicidal lemming-esque rabbits from jumping to their doom and demise. And if I now shut this, goodbye Mr. Rabbit. They now have a nice dark enclosure, because a rabbit is a crepuscular creature. It actually likes to be out at dusk and dawn, and typically sleep, doze, chill, relax, whatever you want to call it, during the day, during the night, and that gives them a place to do that. It's also out of the way from predators, and again, think of this as a sort of a reverse burrow. Instead of going under the ground, this goes above the ground, but as you can see, the rabbits love it. And it means you can put your water bottle up here, or your dish if you want to, if you give your rabbits water in that way. You can hang things off the mesh, sweet corn or similar things, and it does give them a little vantage point to look out from, which makes them happy. And you will actually probably tend to find that the rabbits spend a lot of their time on this shelf, because it's well sheltered, but they can see out all around, and they'll hang out and relax here. Of course, it'd be just fantastic if she now jumps up through the hole to demonstrate the use. Again, it's all pressure treated. Again, it's all thick galvanised mesh. This is designed to last.
At the top of the sky burrow is the sky den. Here you have Fluffle on the left, Huffle on the right, and it's an insulated part of the sky burrow system to trap any heat that's generated by the rabbits as they're up there living in it. The entrance from the underneath is in order to keep the heat within, and the other advantage of an insulated den system means that during the summer months, putting say a cold water bottle in there or something for the rabbits to lean against is potentially going to give them a far cooler environment in which to relax than they otherwise may have. Here we see Paddy enjoying the turf. Hi Paddy. The fox guarding is surrounding the bottom of the run part of the Rabbitopia. There we have Mr. Fox. Now, whilst I love foxes, and all animals for that matter, I don't want Mr. Fox getting at my rabbits, nor do I want him scaring the bejesus out of them, either him or a cat or a dog or any other predator. Maybe an alien. And so, for example, here we can see Fluffle enjoying being within the fox guarding, but able to reach up and look out and over to see what's going on, but without fear of coming face to face, without warning, against some form of predator who could cause her to go into fright and potentially even fatally so. We also include a seat in the Rabbitopia, currently being modelled by Paddy here. The seat, despite being enjoyable by the rabbits, is actually intended for humans, and it means you can go into your Rabbitopia, sit down and interact with your rabbits close to ground level without having to sit on the ground. Small but useful feature. An optional extra to the Rabbitopia is a mesh floor. If you're not going to fit your Rabbitopia on top of a concrete or paving slab floor of some description, and we would highly recommend you don't, then the optional mesh floor is perfect to go under a turf layer, as we have done here, so the rabbits can have a natural environment. As you can see, Poppet is tremendously happy bouncing around his turf. Very excited rabbit. He was commenting on it later. Not really, because he's a rabbit.
Some of our Rabbitopias have this interaction and storage shed, and depending on how you intend to use your Rabbitopia will depend on whether or not this is a good addition for you. The advantages of it is you get a solid plastic roof, obviously solid walls, and it means you've got somewhere that is basically dry, wind and weatherproof, somewhere to interact with your rabbits and store their hay, their sawdust, their nuggets in this handy storage bench I'm sitting on. And If it's a horrible, wet, rainy, muddy day, you can be in here, your rabbits can jump in here with you, and you can spend time with them without having to be out in the totally open weather, as it were. Another advantage to it is it gives a sort of quarantine zone, an airlock, where you can come in through one door, shut the door behind you, and then open the second door and go into the Rabbitopia. And by doing so, if you have a particularly nosy and jumpy rabbit, that they're not going to escape.
Here we have nosy Poppet Rabbit. Now, like most rabbits, he's a very inquisitive little bugger. And here he is having a nose outside of the Rabbitopia. And that's why we put the high threshold in order to make it more difficult for the rabbit to see out. By being hard to see out, he's less likely to jump out, and therefore less likely to become a stray and have to be rescued by somebody else.
Again, this is all pressure treated timber, this is all heavy duty framework. The plastic roof means you don't have to felt it or shingle it, it'll just keep the weather off, it's easy to install. Also, whether you have the Rabbitopia with or without the shed attachment, you have another access point into the hutch, where we have two rabbits at the moment. There's Paddy and Poppet having a cuddle in their huge hut. Now obviously what you would normally fill this with is hay, bedding material, or some kind of pillow for them to sit on. But for the sake of this, we've shown what you actually get as opposed to what you can accessorise it with. Also, you don't have to, of course, interact with your rabbits. You can just be here and spend time watching them. If you have small children, it's a nice place for them to be, to watch over the rabbits without you having to worry about them getting in and pulling ears off or being bitten if the rabbit doesn't appreciate having its ears pulled off. And so, quite simple, but very effective. It's a worthy addition if your Rabbitopia isn't perhaps close to your house and you don't have to keep walking up and down the garden to get the bits and pieces that you use to keep your rabbits clean and happy and well fed. A Rabbitopia isn't like the hutches and runs you'll typically see in pet stores. This is a lot more money. That said, it's an extension of my passion for rabbits. Yes, it makes us a profit, but we make profit by turning out a lot of items, and we believe in the stack 'em high, sell them as cheap as possible principle. The question is really how much you value a rabbit's life. Unfortunately, rabbits are sold for such pitiful amounts of money, £20, £25, that it's perceived that you put them into a £100 hutch, £200 hutch and run, that they have a good life, and they don't. So that really inspired me to push on with Rabbitopia. It was when a lady from a rescue centre came round and saw what I'd built for my own rabbits and said that I'd redesigned how a rabbit lived compared to all the things that have typically gone before. Then I thought, I really have to put this into production, and it's taken a year to put this together to get the price down as low as we can, but it is a lot more money than the little hutch and run that typically people put a rabbit into. I wish rabbits were sold for a lot more money. I wish breeding was a lot less. Wishing won't do anything. Other ways of making something like this, as I've said before, is you could use aviaries, you could use sheds. There are other ways to make decent accommodation for a rabbit, and I won't try and deter anybody from doing that. The Rabbitopia is to give you a similar sort of thing at a similar or lesser price point that is more cohesive, that is purpose built and designed for a rabbit, and to give your rabbits the best life they can. Because a rabbit like you and me has one go around in this world. it doesn't get another shot. And if it's scared to death by a fox that's managed to either break in or nearly break in, if it's attacked or taken by birds of prey, if it lives in a tiny little hutch where it can't even run around, because you hear phrases like, "I never see my rabbit run," and that's because a rabbit is a sprint creature. It runs a little bit and then it relaxes. In a Rabbitopia you'll see a rabbit binky, and if you don't know what the phrase is, a binky is when a rabbit jumps up in the air, kicks its back legs out behind it, and it's the same as the stereotypical jump for joy that people talk about for humans, jump for joy. A rabbit literally does jump for joy when it's happy, and it's over in an instant. You don't see it very often, you don't see it over and over again. To me they're worth it. I spent 6 months putting together the current stuff I have at home, the hutches and runs that are similar to what I've now done here, that people can buy in effect off the shelf from us. And equally, as I said before, I'm fortunate to have the skills and the access to the materials to do that sort of thing. My rabbits mean the world to me. I hope your rabbits mean the world to you. And if a Rabbitopia isn't for you, at least hopefully you've learned a few things from this video. And please look at the independent websites to identify what is good for your rabbit. And please understand a hutch is not enough. A rabbit needs more than that, and you will see a change in your rabbit and a happier rabbit as a result. Thank you for watching.